Hello everyone, in this video let us talk about how to become good at ScriptRunner for Jira. So in this video I'll share 5 tips, and these tips will help you if you are trying to learn ScriptRunner for Jira and you are trying to do things quicker. So tip number 1 is to use binding variables in ScriptRunner for Jira. So when you're writing your code, let us say you're writing a listener or maybe you're creating a scripted field, you have a little question mark in your code editor. If you click on that question mark, you will get a pop-up where you can see all the available variables. For example, if you are writing a listener, then you don't need to declare your issue because you already have this issue variable that is available for you. So you can use it immediately, and if you want to know what all you can do with the issue variable, you can just use the code editor. If you press your control space, you will get some suggestions, and you can then easily write your code. So use binding variables, and these binding variables are available almost everywhere. It could be a listener, or it could be, let us say you're writing a escalation service or a scripted field. Almost everywhere you have this binding variable question mark, and that will really help you in finding your way easily. Now the second tip is enable logging. By inserting few lines of code, you can start logging your Groovy script, understand how your code works. You can do some troubleshooting if the code is working. For instance, if you're working with the issue, or maybe if you're trying to do some workflow transition, with the help of this logging, you can simply print these values or temporary values that will help you in understanding how to write code properly, and also for troubleshooting, as I mentioned earlier. Tip number 3 is that use the ScriptRunner custom REST endpoint. With the help of ScriptRunner, you can define your own custom REST endpoint that can complement the Jira's internal REST API. Jira comes with REST API, and that is really good, but it has not all the things that you may want to do with it. For example, let us say you want to do something with the last comment. There was a question on community a couple of weeks ago where the user wanted to send an email to maybe a group of people, but he was interested in fetching the last comment of the issue. And you can also trigger this with the help of, let us say, a button that you can place on your view issue screen, and that button could be a global transition. Now when you click on that particular button, you can send an email, or you can write a listener that will send an email with any event, for example. Now to retrieve the last comment, you can write a custom REST endpoint that can be called using a custom URL that you will get, or that you can actually define when you are defining the REST endpoint. So there are endless possibilities with the REST endpoint, and if you have been working on ScriptRunner for quite a while now, I think you should also start looking at the custom REST endpoint. So this custom REST endpoint can be triggered within Jira, or you can of course use other applications to have this REST endpoint exposed. The fourth tip that I will share is using console. ScriptRunner comes with a console where you can write scripts, where you can test something. Maybe you want to do something very quickly, or maybe you want to update some values. So console is a place where you can basically test your scripts, or you can do some actions on the issues if you want. And personally, if I'm, let us say, trying to solve a problem, let us say if I have to write a listener, or maybe I'm writing an escalation service, I start with console, where I first test my script. And if I'm writing a listener, the listener works with the help of events. So when you are working with a listener, you have this event binding variable that you can use to basically do something with the issue. Let us say if you are doing something on issue commented, or maybe there is a transition, or maybe there is a change in the value of a custom field, you can of course use the listener. But while you're testing your code, I personally use console, where I use a test issue, I define my issue variable, and then I work on the actual code that I'm trying to write. And once I'm done with my code, I comment out the issue variable, and I paste the remaining code in my listener or maybe escalation service, or it could be a scripted field. And console is basically the first place where I start writing my code. The fifth and my last tip in this video would be to keep your code snippets handy. So I keep a list of all the different things that I can do with ScriptRunner for Jira, like how to retrieve an issue, how to update custom field values, how to add a comment, how to transition the issue, or maybe let us say if I'm trying to work on dates, if I'm doing some conversions with the date field, or if I'm doing some calculations. So I keep a list of these snippets handy with me. So, and just to give you a simple example, let us say if I'm trying to write a switch case, very simple switch case. I can write it, of course, myself, but I usually keep these snippets handy. So I just copy and paste it in my code, and I simply modify it. And this actually helps me in writing the code faster, and I can solve problems quickly and easily. So these are some tips that I wanted to share in this video, and I hope you enjoyed watching this and you learned something new today. Thank you very much.